welcome back. It is ByuN versus Dark, and this has gotta be the best series of the day. Unfortunately, Jim not having very strong showings against Terran or Zerg, but I can't really blame him for the Zerg. And Kelazur, well, Kelazur having, I guess, a decent showing in both matchups, but still not, you know, the even 1v1s that this one should be. In the bottom left on Overgrowth, as the blue Zerg, he is Dark. In the top right, as the red Terran, he is ByuN. I mean, the only other TvZ I can imagine that's going to be as great as this is, like, change any one of these guys with, like, an equal member of their race. So maybe ByuN change with TY was Dark, amazing. Change Dark with Sue, ByuN versus Sue, amazing, and we know that because that was the Lame League Finals. It's just like the pinnacle of the matchup, and the good news for, I guess, a lot of people, I would say. A lot of people liked TvZ when it was Mutilating Bling versus ByuN. It's kind of going back to that. We haven't really seen all the Cranes play Mech versus Zerg, although we did see some games, TvT with Mech, which is cool. We didn't get to cast him, but I saw him at the IEM mainstream after we stopped casting. But not versus Zerg so much. So I don't think ByuN would even be that person to go for Mech, even if it was totally a stable thing to do. He's always been more of a bio player. And Dark, well, Dark can go Roaches. In fact, we saw him go Roaches last game, but that was versus Protoss. We also saw him versus Kelazur, but that was because of 3 Reaper, so... No, he even went for it in the second game. Well, I guess the little difference is that he all-in both of those games. So, if he's not going to all-in ByuN, then I would expect Mutilating Bling. And that's just like the pinnacle of StarCraft 2 in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. This isn't just pure Zombie Group Terran bias, because I think it just is such cool action. Of course, it is made more possible in this recent patch because of the Liberator change, as well as, I guess, technically the Baneling health, but the Baneling health is something that's so, you know, like, Centrifugal Hooks finishes when you already have, like, a fairly good army, so sniping Banelings doesn't usually happen after that point, but it can. But sniping Baneling seems to be the only way that you really get to definitively see what plus 10 health can help out with. When it comes to, like, you know, having 20, 30 Banelings, they still go down if they're gonna go down, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think if we ever see the slow, like, you know, half-speed, micro spread of the Marines versus Banelings, we might see more Banelings last longer. We would actually need Joey to do a patch difference to really see that in effect, I think. Because of course it has an effect, which doesn't seem as obvious as seeing Liberators suddenly be terrible versus Mutas, you know? Anyway, Mutilating Bling was already something that a lot of Zergs were doing in the first place, so just the fact that it's back to being pretty good again, like you don't just lose 20 Mutas instantly, has given a lot more reason for them to continue doing it and continue improving with it. Now, ByuN's going for a 2-1-1, not too surprising. This was his build, this is his baby. So he was the best with, and it's what he would like to do, even if the game has changed in this new patch. So Sim's on the way. Reactor should be started. Reactor should have already been started. I think it's a little bit late, isn't it? 30 seconds. Yeah. Oh my god, ByuN messed up. Oh my god, you guys, call the police, it's not ByuN. Unless he's actually going to go for the Hellion push. Oh my god, he actually might be going for a Hellion push. So this is an interesting little dynamic change-up that I first saw Ryung do, but it means that armor should be thrown down in like 30 seconds to a minute, I think. It's such a cool little addition, because if Dark thinks the same thing that I do, you know, initially did, like, ByuN messed up, like, what the hell, then he might not expect it, but no, actually, I think ByuN just messed up. Okay. It's cool because if they see the 2-1-1, they only get Lings, they only get Queens, but if Hellbats join, suddenly Lings and Queens aren't enough, but it's not that. Now we'll have awkwardly 3 medevacs instead of 2 to 4. Oh well. Marine's still gonna try and push out. We do have 1 engineering bay, single engineering bay. I guess he's gonna go for a Liberator. I do, like, ByuN is so perfect with this 2-1-1 especially, that I really do hesitate to say that he messed up, even though it looks a little silly that only one medevac's here right now, and you're building one medevac, one liberator so soon too. It might just be a little bit of a change for him to be a little more surprising to his Zerg's opponent, because when the Zerg realizes ByuN's going for the 2-1-1, they know exactly what to do to defend against it. The liberator's going to be going behind one of these mineral lines to harass a little bit. Overworth not too great, I would say, though, right? A lot of Daxmas here. I think you can kill at both sides if it's right here. Nope, it's gonna try. Baneling speed, or Baneling nest on the way, lair on the way. ByuN is gonna fall behind on those upgrades. A given, considering we went for one engineering base. Look, we're going for the third CC, though. Not two base in it for too long. The Liberator's gonna go to the main base, but Dark did see that and is responding instantly with Queens. He also has enough Queens over here, but maybe not against these amount of Marines. One is sniped, the Lings are going down, and even though the Queen sniped a single medevac, there's still one more left over, and Dark might have just underestimated a ByuN push. We actually saw this exact scenario happen with slightly different build orders against Scarlet yesterday. I think Dark just screwed up. I think Dark just lost. It's funny too, because like seriously, regardless of if it's only the two medevacs initially with 60 Marines, or if they do fly in the third and fourth medevacs, the Zerg have really gotten quite used to this build, so to see them take damage is always a little bit bewildering. Now he doesn't lose the hatchery, so close to losing the hatchery. The transfuses went down at the last second, thank god those Queens were around. Liberator apparently didn't get cleaned up because of all this though, and he's gonna kill a couple more drones, and ByuN gets away with a handful of Marines, which is so surprising, just weren't any Lings left over. A couple of larvae, I guess, eggs get beaten up too, but damn, that was a lot of damage. Now Dark is going to try and recover. He does have a bank, he could probably still try and get a fourth base. I don't think he has enough larvae to spend his minerals, so maybe a fourth base is the only thing he can do. But he took a ton of damage, and ByuN's going to come in here. He's not going to have his medevac sniped as quickly because there's only 3 Queens, and he can still snipe these Banelings. A, because they don't have that plus 10 health, and B, because it's ByuN, there's only 4 Banelings. Even on creep, I don't think he has to worry about much, but he does clear it up. Fourth base is on the way for Dark. That could have been ByuN's other target, but I think he kind of wants to end the game. He's going to target fire these Bane. Oh, nobody messed up, actually! That little step forward is usually because they tried to focus by literally click on the Baneling, but then missed, and as such moved the Marines forward. Such an obnoxious little mistake that happens when you want to try and be really cool on stream. Thank you to Black Sword for the 24-month resub. Overlord drop's gonna be very interesting. Could go into that main base. It's kind of running out of minerals, and those SCVs are stacking up a little bit. Marines have now probably lost their chance to kill the fourth base, as there's 2 more Queens and a handful more Zerglings. They are responding to 2 drops in the main, though, and Dark might not have split correctly. Queens are over here, but enough Lings. Okay, ByuN's not gonna chance it. Overlord going into the main base. Oh, those SCVs. Oh, those SCVs think ByuN's actually gonna be taking too much attention to his own micro. No. Oh, last minute split. Ooh, that was close. That was so close. Dark's not even gonna take it. Dark's just gonna leave. But that third base... ByuN looks like he lost the medevac on the other side of the map. He still has 3 ready to go, though. Nope, not gonna happen. Yeah, this one lost its buddy, and this one just didn't do a lot of damage. And Dark, man, he took so much damage from that attack he underestimated. I still don't think he's in a very good position, but he is hanging on. He's got Burrow on the way too, so maybe we'll see a couple of burrowed Banelings, or maybe just burrowing Lings from Overlord drops. Either way. Oh dear, 9 SCVs go down. Either way, going to be a useful upgrade to have. He's also going to have 2-2 over ByuN's 2-1, because again, ByuN only upgrading from 1 engineering bay, which is really weird. Usually you go 2 and 3rd CC. Oh, there it is. There's the 2nd engineering bay. Well, anyway, he's going to be behind that upgrade. Infestation boost on the way, not a Spire, which ByuN will want to scan and make sure of. I think even if he, like, okay, by now if you don't see mutas, it usually means they're not going mutas, but that could have been because of Dark's damage dealt to him earlier on. So ByuN, I think, will want to scout the infestation pit, especially if it's going to lead to a hive, which I think it is. Mirage is going to soak up a lot of these Banelings, get an opportunity. Like I said, they actually crashed into the Widow Mine, which didn't get a shot off necessarily, but still soak up a lot of Banelings. Let's look at a few Widow Mines in the back that ByuN could fall back to if things got really hairy. Well, Dark does realize how tight this hold is going to be, considering he is down 20 army supply. That's actually a usual amount to be down in Legacy of the Void. When you're down 30 or 40 is when you probably just are out of luck, unless something miraculous happens. But 20 is, like, that's creep spread, that's medevacs going down, that's a good surround of the Lings, you know, something like that. Lings are going to go to the right side. Now, remember he has Burrow, so SCs actually take out, I guess, a transfer or a small transfer? I don't know, like one worker. Regardless, these Lings could get into that third base. Even with the bunker, it might be worth busting, at least to pull ByuN back. Now, ByuN is keeping that 20 army supply lead and even increasing it a little bit to 30 army supply lead. His upgrades are finishing up too, and Hive is only just on the way, so the Ultra Timer has not started quite yet. And do remember that the Ultra Timer is not as severe, as Ultras overall have one less armor fully upgraded now. Oh, the Banelings do crash through that bunker. And on top of the SCVs, not too much damage, and that was a good chunk of units for 5 SCVs. Fourth base is also about halfway done, and ByuN is still looking to control this game. Again, up 30 army supply. Looking for those spaces without a lot of creep spread, but not actually taking... Oh, the Burrowed Infestor was cool! Damn, I forgot about that upgrade. That patch. Of course, the Infestors can now shoot their fungal without unburrowing. I mean, burrowed and popping up still would have gotten the fungal off, but it just increases the likelihood of a shark attack, and that was pretty cool. Exactly what Dark wanted to do with that burrow, I suppose, and that's just neat. That's just neat. Last time we saw it almost happen, we were so psyched and ready for it to happen, the Dark just ended up dying and not able to use it, so that's why I wasn't even thinking about it. The Hive is done, the Ultra Scammer's on the way. ByuN is trying to add in Liberators, however, and he does also start his +3 attacks at the very least. He has not dropped or scouted anytime soon, or lately, so he does not know about that Hive, but I think the timing is kind of getting to that point where, again, you know you did early game damage, but 12 minutes is still a lot to be on 4 bases. Infestor is sniped. A little unfortunate. I think that was just a scan for creep, and the Infestor got in the crossfire. That's a Burrowed Baneling. That's gonna stall out a missile turret. I don't think ByuN would have noticed that. He is being very cautious. You know, you're on the edge of creep. Generally, the Zerg will not attack into you, but sometimes they'll try and surprise you, especially as they get maxed out and are feeling a little bit more confident in taking trades. Ultra Cavern is done. Dark does have the bank to start Chitinous Plating. Oh, drop. No, Liberator. There's no Spore Crawler, which Dark realizes is now a problem. The Liberator over here too. I mean, the first 2 Liberators almost always go for harassment, but the follow-up one should just be part of the army. A couple drones gonna go down. 4th base, 5th base, not cancelled, I don't think. Just straight up killed. What is that? A Widow Mine? That's a Widow Mine. That's actually a really clever place to put a Widow Mine. That might get a really good shot. I'll pay attention to that. 4 medevacs right into that main base. One of them super low, but I don't think Dark paid attention quick enough to snipe it. It's a very dangerous thing to do against Zerg. Obviously, you're putting yourself right onto that creep, and Queens could come and try and take out your medevacs. It ends up going okay. Counterattack into that main base, attack going to the 4th as well, but this is actually going quite poorly. The Widow Mines aren't even going to burrow. Dark does kill all of the SCVs at that 3rd base, but there's a 4th, don't forget. Attack down the middle is trying to deal some damage as well, and Dark is just being pulled everywhere, but so is ByuN. I'm not quite sure who's taking a better advantage of this. I think ByuN is, though. He's starting to really rise up in that army supply. Barely able to pick up those units where those Banelings hit. Attack to the middle is going to be surrounded. It does have those decent upgrades. It's going to be picked up, actually. And ByuN is, I still think, the one that is going to feel better with this trade. I mean, it's really quite close. Actually, okay, so initially it was only 3 Ultras, but 6 Ultras might be fine for Dark. Oopsie. Because what happened, of course, was ByuN kept his army supply lead, but Dark got an economic lead as ByuN's back down to 38 SCVs. I mean, he's on 4 CC. I guess the Baneling finally detonated, by the way, which is why these are all weak. It's 4 CCs. ByuN could try and remake even 15 workers, and he'd be at a very good count again. But it is worrying here. Those Ultras, they do not have Chitinous Plating. I brought that up earlier. I didn't realize they still hadn't gotten it, but it's on the way, and that is quite still the timer. It's 1 armor less, but still A lot of armor to chunk through. Liberator's gonna be at the front lines. He's gonna try and snipe with the Ultras. He gets one of them, but that fungal, the Baneling hits. They're good. The Ultras do not have a response, unfortunately, without their queens to help them out to the Liberators. There's a couple of queens now. Gonna be able to take them in a bit. Ooh, not quite. Ultra goes down the Liberator. Infestor is actually gonna throw some Infestarans down, because why not? Some Liberators do feel a little bit useless. Main drop in the drop in the main, rather, does kill an Ultra. Again, without that plating, it's actually getting chunked through, even with just Marines here. This is very annoying. Oh, he's gonna get plating! Oh my god, he's getting plating! Jesus! Oh, that was a huge snipe. Oh, he's doing so much better against non-plating Ultras. Now, they do have one more base arm without the plating, which is what's interesting, so they're not as weak as they were, but they still don't have +3 Carapace, and they do not have a Chitinous plating. Liberators siege up on the bases, and there's not much what Dark can do about that without Corruptors, without Queens to the front lines. He's gonna go for the natural. Widowmine's gonna pop off and do a little bit of damage, but the bio should be enough with kiting. Yeah, I think ByuN has got this. Oh, but the Burrowed Banelings could change things up if ByuN makes the mistake of being too clumped up on them. A couple Widowmine's gonna get some pretty decent shots. But JK, you only got 2 drones. Not decent at all. But the main attack was pulled back by Dark, so not much else going on. He realized the necessity of a Spire. Unfortunately, it might already be too late. Because, of course, now he's gonna have to wait for the Spire to finish. He's gonna have to hope no more Ultras get sniped. And ByuN is all, you know, that's just time given to him. Good attack with the Banelings. Good attack with the other Banelings, too. So good by Dark right there. But I was gonna say, ByuN is recovering. I feel like he could recover faster, basically. Like, especially since plating still isn't on the way. That's one thing Dark is really missing. He's not going to have Ultras. He is just going to be relying purely on the Ultras he has, plus maybe a couple of really key Vipers. But ByuN, as I was saying, I think he could recover faster if he just built a couple more SCVs, but he's not building any more SCVs. So even if he does lift his main command center, there's not that many SCVs to spread around. Plus, with Lings, it's going to be hard to take bases with orbital commands. Very sneaky Infestor off to the side is going to be able to get a really good fungal. This could, like, any super good fungal could spell death for ByuN, as it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to remake armies in such large quantities. Again, like a huge fungal, a couple of Banelings, that could easily be 20 supply, 30 supply down for ByuN. His army is becoming more and more Marauder heavy, so that might not entirely be true. If it's just Marines, then oh my god, they die so quickly. But Marauders able to stay a little bit longer. Oh, Banelings roll into that natural. They're in, actually, ByuN's gonna be a little careful to repair this. It's technically burning. And more splash damage could kill it. But we got armies spread out everywhere. Now, ByuN is pre-splitting. He does know there's Infestors on the field, and while he's not necessarily checking his back at every single point, he knows that they're on the field. So, Dark really is going to want to wait for that beautiful fungal of, like, 15 plus units, you know? Not a fungal of, like, 5 units. They're just not going to help him that much. This is a real slugfest. Dark now down 40 overall army supply. That's where the lack of workers actually starts being a benefit as ByuN's army gets out of control. And of course, he will still have mules to fall back on. So as you actually see in the income right here, it's not that bad right now. But imagine if he had like 10 more SCVs and a 5th base. It'd be terrible for Dark. Dark needs another base too, actually. Talk a lot about ByuN's economy, but even though Dark has 52 drones, they're not really well spread out on a lot of minerals. That 5th base is seemingly just a dream for him now. You know, he's never really controlled the left side of the map, and the right side, sometimes he's pushed the Terran back far enough, but not long enough to grab that gold. I think ByuN's got this game, unless something really bad happens to him, but actually something bad happens to Dark, who just loses the Vipers he just invested into. Oof, painful. I think he's at like 4. He's at 5, he lost 4 of them. Oh god, he's trying to remake them now, but that is all of his bank. And he still doesn't have Chitinous plating. His Ultras, they aren't quite paper, but they're gonna be sniped so easily. Corruptors would have to kill the Liberators first, I think, for Dark to take a very, very good engagement. At this point, he's just gonna take an okay engagement, which is not what he needs. Actually, at this point, he's gonna take a bad engagement no matter what. There's so many Liberators. Oh, Corruption's gonna try and take out the Liberators as quickly as possible, but all the Banelings are already down and out, and reinforcements are flooding in from ByuN, who's also taking his gold base with his main command center. Trying to snipe a couple of these queens, so no transfuses, I guess, but doesn't really need to. Could just KO the ultras anyway, and that is game. Oh, Widow Mines, please. That is game. GG. Woo. That was a game, and it lived up to expectations, which is what's the most beautiful thing about it. And Dark, well, Dark almost had it. Dark had a lot of really good ideas, and in a couple of moments where it was like, oh, maybe Dark's gonna win this, but ByuN wins out overall. Looking forward to what the next map is. I do believe they've already chosen. Newkirk Precinct is the second map, which is such an ugly map. I hated that map so much. Ugh. There was also a map where Mech was pretty popular. That was also when Mech was just more popular, so. The players are in the lobby, all the casters are here too. I am sitting on one half of my chair, the other half is broken. We're just about ready to go. You guys can hear the countdown. Game number 2 between these two powerhouses of their individual races. ByuN got the upper hand last game, but you know, a couple more of those bird infestors, couple more bird banelings, not taking severe damage in the early mid game, and suddenly Dark's back in it. Game number 2 in the... oh, there we go. In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, he is Dark. In the bottom left is the red Terran, he's ByuN. Alright, I kind of already said my piece about that last game. It was so good, so beautiful, and I hope we get another one like it, but Dark, he made that first mistake. He did not respond to the 2-1-1 correctly. Granted, it was a bit of a unique 2-1-1, either because ByuN messed up, or because ByuN just adding in a bit of a twist to it. Maybe that did throw Dark off just enough. One Liberator usually does not do that. Usually it's just like, oh, I lost like 4 drones, they didn't pull the drones fast enough, but I know my queen will eventually take care of it, so I can focus entirely on defending the push, but that's just not what happened. It was just enough to really cause a lot of damage to that third base. Thank you to the Chosen One for the 25 points. Cheers. Points. Whatever. Bits. There we go. 25 points. Zombie Grub, for getting that correct. Spawning pool first. Dark did this versus Kalazur. Dark was all-inning versus Kalazur. That might have been because he was just like, this kid, I swear to God, don't give me someone like tougher next time. And also this might have been what he had planned to do on the maps. Interesting to see if he would do it again here against ByuN. He'll probably make the 2 lings, and we'll see what follows up after that. ByuN is going for just the 1 max expand, nothing too special there. I think I missed a couple other resubs while that game was going on because it was a really good game. Again, there's a couple moments where I would have been yelling straight up, but I am in a pretty tiny room with questionable soundproofing, so I've been trying to keep it on the down low, you know what I mean? Ah, Logan, thank you for the 26-month resub. Same. Don't know what that was. Oh, it was same, I think, to the other 26-month resub, Lupa SC2. Holy cow, whole 26 months. Love you guys, always will. Stay cool, stay in school, I'm out of puns, bye. Was that a pun? Is that just a phrase? Love you, Lupa. Alright, so the Reaper, I think, realizes something's a little bit up, a little bit suspicious, and does go back home to deal with what could have been 2 lings attacking his SCV, but Dark did this last time. Dark misses the timing on delaying the command center, and I just don't know why he does that. If he was following up with nothing but a flood of lings, and I would maybe understand, because like those 2 lings would be like life or death, but I don't know, if what was Planet just sending those links like that? Because you might say, well, he got his job done anyway, alright? Like, maybe his job wasn't to kill the SCV building the command center, which it is. But maybe the other job is to get the Reaper to stop being an annoying little pest. I don't think the Terran's giving much up by not being an annoying little gnat, you know? Again, if he was following up with 20 links, if he was following up with a Roach Warren really quickly and an all-in, getting that Reaper to come back home is huge, because then it's not scouting, it has no idea what's coming. But it's only 4 lings, they don't even get an SCV. I guess he really is just hoping he'll get an SCV later, instead of sooner. I don't know. But the Reaper now should know, because there's enough Marines. The build ByuN went for gives him a lot of good production early on in the game. ByuN should feel comfortable trying to scout with the Reaper now. Because if it was a 2-base all-in, and the Roach Warren was already done, and the Roach was already on the way, then ByuN could be in trouble, but it's not. It's a pretty well-timed Roach Warren that might even just be a macro Roach Warren, as the 3rd base is also already down. And ByuN could scout that if he would just control his Reaper. But it's ByuN, so of course he would lose his first Reaper. Am I right, guys? High five. Do I know if there will be a replay pack for this? I don't think we've been sending out LeiFeng Cup replays. You guys could tell me differently, though. We have cast it 2 other times. Dark has some pretty good map vision, I gotta say. He actually has like a ring of units and overlords. Look at that. It's actually making like the one ring to roam all.
Our forces are under attack.
Well, ByuN did go for the single engineer bay last time, so I might just still have him follow up with the 3rd CC. This time he does have 2 medevacs right off the bat, which really tells me the last game was a mistake. He just mistimed the reactor, which is so funny because ByuN is... This is his build, guys. Like, for him to make a mistake, it's just funny. The 2 medevacs gonna fly right into potentially the main base. Now, generally generally the 3rd is our ultimate goal. Or the better goal, the safer goal. Because you can get off of creep without losing medevacs, if you do it right. But the main base could have also been a target. 3rd base ends up being a really good target, though, because Dark just wasn't quite in position and didn't really react that quickly. I don't think Dark thought ByuN was going to dedicate to killing the hatchery. He was like, oh, you're gonna poke it a little bit, maybe it'll lose like 20 health, like I don't care. And suddenly it's down to like 20% health, so big difference there. Now ByuN obviously sees that it's Roaches and Ravagers. We'll see how he responds to that. Dark can play that style, and we have seen only one other Terran go for Roaches in response, or go for tanks in response to Roaches, and that was TY. I really like that ByuN's getting tanks. I think they're too good. Even if they die quickly to the Ravagers, because they can't be moved, I think 2 shots from a tank with their new damage is just so worth it against a Roach player. So these Marines tango with the Roaches, and they're gonna win. Getting the Ravagers now too. Liberator goes in the main base. Doesn't do too much damage right here, but it's more about that 3rd. That 3rd is not going to live. The drones are actually being pulled. The Queens can make it down in time. I don't think so. That is down and out, and Dark yet again takes damage in the early game. I mean, he barely saved it last game, and it cost him, regardless if he lost the hatchery or not, it cost him the units to defend it that all died, but damn. Losing the entire hatchery. ByuN has his 3rd already done. He's got tanks to protect himself, even if Dark didn't lose any units in that. If he tries to counterattack, not gonna happen with the tank protecting the wall. 2nd tank almost already out too. 1-1's gonna finish. We do have tunneling claws with burrow, so that's another way to deal with tanks. Either corrosive bile from above or burrowed Roaches from underneath, which is pretty cool. Medevacs, I guess their sole duty now is to maybe try and clear up some creep, which Dark really is wanting to get more down. Unfortunately, he's lost all of his live creep tumors. Single medevac into the main base. It's already Queen's waiting, though. Yeah, pull back. Yeah, Jesus. Oh, Marines over here could snipe a Roach and then take up. Oh, Dark's actually super scared. His upgrade's finally finished just now. 3rd command center's on the way. I do want to say that the game feels like it's just going to end with a tank push, but I really want to see what Dark's able to do with his tunneling claws. As the tank count is growing, and that's what's so scary. Because 2 tanks, 3 tanks, but if they ever get to 6 tanks, because they protect their tanks so well. It is hard for roaches to push past that. The Liberator's on the way too. Dark finally has room to breathe. He's finally convinced ByuN to stop dropping him and pulled back. But he's had to recover from that third base loss. It looks like he's going to take this as the fourth base, which is questionable. It's safer against drops because you can respond to your third and your fourth a lot faster than if you took it over here. But it's not safer against tank pushes. I don't think Dark has enough supply. He is on roaches, and he's barely ahead in army supply. I think the tanks will just outmatch him. And he doesn't have Ravagers either. He's only trying to make them now. And he's supply blocked. Oh god. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh, Dark. Dark. Oh god. Getting in this position is so good for the Terran. A couple of roaches end up dropping. This is going to be really annoying for ByuN to deal with, but unfortunately it also reveals Tunneling Claws, which he will now be extra aware of scanning for his tanks. Don't pay attention to these roaches over here. I just don't think they're going to be doing very much damage. Third base is going to go down eventually. I don't think Dark can break up the ramp against these tanks. Now, ByuN isn't reinforcing, so there's a possibility Dark pushes him back. Just by having all of his units in one place and ByuN not so much. But once ByuN deals with a couple of roaches, he could start rallying forward. Upgrades are about to finish. This is probably Dark's time to go, but it would be so much better if he had Tunneling Claws working on the tanks right now. He's trying to expand. Let's a couple more Overlords. Fly blocked again. He's trying to expand to the north, which might just work out. Like, if ByuN's gonna stop dropping and focusing more and more on tank pushes, then taking the bases that are farther away is going to be more of a headache for ByuN to kill. These roaches maybe finally going to get cleaned up. These two are. This one's being a pain in the butt. A couple SCVs. Is it really worth the damage Dark has taken? Now at this point, Dark's going to get maxed out. But max out with 4 bases too, which sounds pretty nice, right? Unfortunately, he's going to be stuck on these units that just aren't that great, especially if the Fungals don't hit. But I am glad to see Fungals charging, basically, waiting for the energy to snag them. Because without those Fungals, Roach Ravager, I think, you know, it would just die. It would just die to not just the tanks, right? The tanks are a great addition, but also to Bio with Medivacs. And soon to be pretty well upgraded Bio too. 2-2 against 2-2. Yeah. 4 more tanks are going to be able to join, and ByuN did have all those tanks survive that push. That is a scary tank count. 7 and above is basically where it's super scary. I don't think I've seen tanks go much higher than that on TvZ, to be honest. Usually it's just being traded out too much. With the push down the middle, this is where Dark has really pushed his creep spread, so it's not looking too bad. 1 tank instantly sniped, but the cost of a couple of roaches, so not bad. I do love the spread. He's also got to spread his units a little bit, because remember, the Fungals are available. But Dark is going to find a more clever way of getting his Burrowed Infestors to the front lines, because, of course, the creep is going to be scanned, and in doing that, the Infestors will be scanned. Liberators go to that base, and unfortunately that Spur Crawler is not in the greatest position. Drop also headed towards that same base. Push being very bold. Again, if the Infestors are around, they will be able to snag a lot of units. Where are they? Okay, he did reposition 1 to the back. Very nicely done. The Fungal is fairly good. Tanks should have gotten Corrosive Bile, but instead Dark went for the Bio initially. There's the Corrosive Biles on the tanks, though. And that looks like a much better trade. Unfortunately, only more Ravagers left over, and 22 drones went down while this all happened. So the tank count was reset, 22 drones went down, and most of the roaches died along with it. So Ravagers are not very good by themselves counterattacking. Now ByuN, he's got to be pretty careful. He pushed out a little too far forward with only 1 tank, and that's a little bit scary. But I think given time, he will have enough. Liberator finally cleaned up. Dark is not quite all in here, I want to say. He does have maybe another army, but he has got trade out very, very well. 3 tanks still blasting away at these roaches. Not quite enough, as the concave is very good for Dark, and he is trying to push in. He's got to do him a little bit more damage, though. Doesn't actually get into the mineral line. Fourth base is trying to be put down, and that's just not a good sight for Dark. I mean, great in denying it at all, but to see the fourth base is available should not be... It should not be feeling pretty good. The base here, oddly enough, is going to be pretty healthy, so even though it's in the danger zone again, if the tanks come up here, maybe Dark's able to push ByuN off of it and actually secure a very healthy base. Now, ByuN just gave up and went for this one, which is funny, because a roach burrowed there as he did it. Liberator's going to the fourth base. Ooh, this is a pretty abusive position. Thank God for Ravagers in this game. I do want to point out that ByuN built a second factory a while ago, and I really like that. Not just because more tanks better, but replacing tanks easier. And that's going to be pretty important. And the only reason Dark looked so scary with that counter was that the timing was so good. Like, he had wiped all the tanks out and was hitting while the tanks in the bios were rallying forward. But now that it's a good collective composition again, with good upgrades, 3-2 against 2-2, even one of the vehicle weapons, Dark's back to that point of like, okay, he's gotta get a good fungal corrosive bio combo to really win out. Thank you very much for that donation. You'll note that there's not the image, there's only the sounds, because I don't have the CLR plugin ready to go. My bad. Thank you to El Baracho for the 23-month resub. Almost 2 years. Damn! That's a long time. Oh, there's a little bit of a lull in the action. I can try and see who donated. Tom KDE donated $25. Ace Kate, BTTV, Ace Kate. Thank you so much for that donation. We do have Ultras on the way and a couple of Vipers, and things get a lot more interesting for the Zerg Roach player when they get Vipers, because it got interesting with the Fungals, right? Fungal, Corrosive Bio, beautiful combination. Vipers on top of that, actually, in my opinion, swings the balance the other way around. Oh no, the Fungal. Oh, I love the instant scan on it, but damn, that was a good Fungal. Anyway, imagine, if you want to, if you can, Fungal, Corrosive Bio, and Blinding Cloud. Imagine Blinding Cloud and that's it on the tanks. That's really what has been slapping back down the tanks, if they do get out of hand, is good Blinding Clouds. And of course, the Terran clumping up their tanks, which in a case like we just saw, is likely as they're moving forward. Now ByuN is going to be a lot more aware of siege hopping them forward, instead of just running forward. Actually runs into the army, even though the tanks got Blinding Clouded, there's just so much bio with that +3, ripped through the roaches. But Dark still has a decent army supply, and ByuN has to be a little bit careful. There could be more spellcasters on the back. He doesn't know that there's not, but he has 6 tanks to fall back on, and they are obliterating the front line of roaches. An attack was in the third base as well, and that's actually GG. Oh god, I don't want this. I hate the GeForce Experience thing. GG, ByuN takes the 2-0, but damn if that wasn't the best 2-0 in a while, but of course of the night. The next match is going to be ByuN versus Jim, which I don't think will be nearly as good, but we'll see what Jim has in store for another Terran. While they get the vetoes done, going to go to a break, and I'll get back to you as soon as we're in the lobby.